English translation 90th contact. Friday, 11th November 1977, 1614 Chers.
I have been trying to reach you for a few days now. However, my calls simply faded away somewhere without any echo.
I was busy with a lot of things, including your concerns. I am so busy for the time being that I probably will not find the time to devote myself to the letters of the group members, although I promised that. As a result of my strict demands, I also had to shield everything so that you could not penetrate with your call to me. So today I am only here to give you some instructions in relation to some group members concerning the stay in the center, because this is also one of my duties. As far as the first procedures are concerned, it can be explained that, with one exception, everyone has made a good effort, although many of them have revealed some concerns in various forms, which they have been able to resolve themselves and in a very short time. 2 others had some difficulties, but these will subside in the course of time, after which there will be no need to discuss them further. One of the group members is burdened with physical, organic, and psychological imbalances, which makes progress a little more difficult and is why the total time has to be increased by 48 minutes. This is the case with Renato. In the second case, the total time should be increased by 80 minutes for Claire. It would be one more case to mention, since an 80-minute extra time would be urgently needed, but it is still unclear to me whether this will be utilizable and bring forth a success. This is because the whole behavior and attitude, in quite a few dealings, leaves a lot to be desired, and also a strong dishonesty in some matters comes to light, as with all those who do not honestly conform to our mission and are always erroneous. The effort to achieve true success is not only severely hindered by will, but also by an incomprehension and rejection of the entire teaching and practice, as well as by an impurity of the body, which has a very inhibitory effect and awakens a constant feeling of listlessness, tiredness, dissatisfaction, indifference, and aggression, especially in the person who has the most apostate thoughts, namely in Hans. You should therefore have a discussion with him and explain the facts to him in the talk, because as I have already told you, he does not in any honest form try to fulfill his mission, nor does he try to practice meditation, but he surrenders to sleep after less than 3 minutes, moves away under the relevant apparatuses, and is completely absorbed by himself. It was like this for the first time. But even the second time there were disturbances that were very unhelpful to the whole thing. And so it continues to happen, especially the uncleanness, which is very damaging for everything and also for himself. This impurity, however, can also have an effect in the center itself, because the concentrative force of magnetic form there not only stores it, but also concentrates it higher and holds it in place. You yourself experienced the first time that it was very difficult for you to suppress a very peculiar smell with incense, but you would not have succeeded if we had not intervened ourselves to neutralize everything. The second time, it was not much better, although you noticed less of it yourself. Knowing about the things of the first time, Quetzal made sure that at least the air was not impregnated as much as before, because the cleanliness was also very questionable. If it continues to happen in this form, then I would have to ask you and all the group members not to let Hans pass into the center anymore, because the length of this resulted in those who were in it were severely damaged. Impurity in the center is the worst thing that can find entrance there. Therefore, see to it in strict form that the next time Hans enters, he will get rid of his impurity all over his body and in his clothes as well as in his mouth. In this regard, you must establish a rule for him which resembles an order, for in another form he does not care about it. For truthfully, in his thoughts of apostasy and betrayal, he is indifferent to everything in relation to the harm he does.
That is much easier said than done, girl.
Then present this matter to the members of the group, while Jacobus is supervising Hans in this respect for the time being, because such things are better for him than for you, who are simply too patient in some things. It is probably correct that you spend a lot of patience on each person, and thus always give him or her a chance to the bitter end. But precisely in this respect, you must not be patient, because the impurity mentioned endangers many things. Your patience and long-suffering as well as your hopes will probably not bear healthy fruit in reference to Hans, as well as not with all others who cultivate renegade, treacherous and slanderous thoughts and feelings, and also act treacherously to the outside.
Well, I say it in this case to Jacobus.
It is also truly more convenient for him than for you.
Thank you, girl, for failing.
I know you do not have to talk about it.
Can we talk about other things then?
Sure, but I still have to explain that some time changes will have to be made from December for all the other group members that have been in the center so far, but only for some of them and usually only for a few minutes more or less. You should still be informed about this. I have already told you about the other changes that will take place.
That is all clear to me. Then I have one more question. I am interested in something for my later life, in relation to my current parents. Can you give me some information about that, and do you even know about it?
Sure, I know these concerns that will apply to you, but I am not allowed to talk about them, because you do not yet understand how to process this knowledge.
Okay, then that is how it is. But thanks for the clarification. Then now to something else. Last Tuesday night, Claire was with us and worked quite diligently. Wait, it was on the 8th of November. Around 23:20 HRs, we stood together over on the parking lot and just wanted to say goodbye. At this moment, a strange sound was heard twice from the back of the shed, which I could not define and classified as an animal sound. Nevertheless, I took a heavy cudgel and went for a look, but found neither an animal nor anything else. Claire followed me into the darkness, but could not see anything. She just explained to me that she was really scared, and that she would drive away quite fast with her car, which she did a few minutes later. For my part, I went into the house, saddled my pistol, and fetched my tape recorder from the office. Thus provided, I went to the first bend of the road, ran the tape, meaning I switched on the tape recorder because of course it cannot run, at the third road marking pole and distanced myself from it about 10 meters, where I then sat down in the prevailing Egyptian darkness on the roadside. I was only there a few moments when a sound was heard as if an unshielded beamship was approaching. Observing everything attentively all around and in the sky, I could not recognize anything, however, because the darkness was simply too strong. Only in front, where our court light illuminated everything, there I was able to see everything clearly out of the darkness. And as I looked over to the pole with the tape recorder switched on again after some time, and then looked down into the meadow, suddenly and as if out of nowhere a figure stood there, exactly on the strip between light and darkness, where on the one hand the light was sharply separated from the court lamp, and on the other hand the darkness. The figure had not run there, but was actually there all of a sudden. Quietly, I stood up and scurried quietly across the street and over to the pole with the tape recorder, where I fully recognized the figure and saw that I had not been mistaken at the roadside over there, where the head of the figure had appeared to me like a grimace. Now I clearly saw that the being had a human body, and if I was not mistaken, it had to be a female body. According to Earth human terms, this was in stark contrast to the voice that this being had, because it sounded quite deep, which means nothing, because I know very well that other beings can also have other voices in the forms, as is the case with us on Earth. Then I also saw a hand of this being, which in comparison to my fingers seemed quite oversized, namely about twice as long as mine on my hand. But then the head first, oh my goodness, that was unique. I was not terrified because I had already seen some badly mutilated human faces, but I was somehow fascinated by the sight, which is why I really looked at it first, before I reached for my cannon, tore it out of the holster, tightened the handle and wanted to unlock it, which was, unfortunately, a mistake of mine, because when I raised the cannon, the strange being disappeared just as suddenly and without a trace as it had come. I really did not want to just shoot wildly, but to be on the safe side, I only wanted to put the cannon in position if something evil had been done against me by the creature. Then I would first have overruled a lead stroll over his strange pumpkin, and then seen what it would have done. But this strange creature must have had eyes like a nightcat, because how else could it have known in this damned darkness that I had a weapon in my hand? That must have been the reason why it disappeared so suddenly. Somehow I know that I made a bad mistake with the pistol, but another mistake with the fact that I continued to block my thoughts. Somehow I feel as if this being, who was perhaps 116 centimeters tall, can communicate telepathically, and probably wanted to get in touch with me in this way as well, which it did not succeed in due to my blockade. So it probably tried to approach me acoustically, but then saw my weapon, and because it was not able to grasp my thoughts, that I did not just want to shoot, it simply disappeared, because it felt threatened. Since then, I have always had the certain feeling that this being will come again, and that with a quite peaceful intention. This is also evident from its voice, which was recorded by the tape recorder on the street pole. I tried to decipher the sounds and came to the conclusion that it was always the same words that the being spoke. It sounded like Murg Murg to me. For 2 full days I looked at it, and strangely enough, I always came to the same conclusion that this word Murg, if I filtered it out correctly, means nothing but peace. Since then it always sounds to me as if this being had asked me if I was also peaceable with him or her. What I have to say is this: the head of the being had the shape of a human head, but the appearance was quite monster-like, namely a cross between a fish and a frog, with a quite big mouth and a kind of herringbone over the skull, which was as shiny as everything else of this head, which I would like to call somehow beautiful, because even if it looked monster-like in the twilight, it was very well formed and very natural. Somehow the being seemed to me to have risen from a fable, namely like an amphibian. Now the big question to you: do you know anything about such beings? And are you aware that such beings still live somewhere on the earth or have recently come here? Is anything known to you that this being was here on Tuesday? Girl, hello?
Sorry, no, I do not know anything about such beings being here, really not. I know these kinds of beings. They are human life forms that used to live in water and on land. Amphibians, as you rightly say, but I do not know that such life forms that live very, very far away from this system are supposed to be here. Were you really not deceived?
It might be possible, but the tape proves something else. Just listen once.
You are right.
What do you say now?
You have not succumbed to deception, and I am somehow familiar with the very cumbersome language of the being. But I am not quite sure, so I want to talk to Quetzal and some others about it first, and give my attention to the matter. If I can take the tape recorder with me, I will go back to the station and call Father if necessary, because he knows some of those cumbersome languages that amphibians speak when they cannot communicate telepathically, because telepathy is their actual means of communication.
Of course you can take the tape recorder and the tape with you.
Then I go now. Goodbye.
When are you coming back?
In a few hours, because by then we will have settled everything.
Well then, goodbye for the meantime, and dear greetings to everyone.
Never seen what you want here.
Man, girl, you are back very fast. That only took 112 hours. Did you find anything out?
Sure, and it should be very interesting for you. First, I got in touch with Father and gave him your explanations as well as the sounds you recorded with your sound device. Father knew immediately, because the sounds originate from a guttural language known to him of a human life form race equally known to him, which is at home in the area of a system on a planet known to you as Deneb, at a distance of about 2,000 light-years from the Sol system. Father was amazed at your precise indication of the sounds of the being you observed, but also at the precise description of your observation. The sounds Claire and you heard are very awkward because they are very crude to these signers, as they are called. Normally, they communicate only telepathically because their guttural language is very difficult for them, which they only use for communication when they have to communicate with other forms of life that are not capable of telepathy. The sounds you defined as Merg correspond to this word, and Father was really astonished about it because he explained that it was extremely difficult to define these guttural sounds in syllable form, which you apparently succeeded in doing without much effort. Normally, he explained, studies and comparisons of apparatuses, etc., would also be necessary on Earth in order to analyze such sounds and bring them into their syllabic values. What further astonished Father was that you also correctly analyzed the meaning and concept of the word, because Merg actually means peace, according to which it is really easy to judge that you apparently also met the correctness with it, which says that the being observed by you came in peaceful intention. But why it came is still a mystery to us. Neither Quetzal nor anyone else knew that any flying ship unknown to us had flown into earthly space, because despite all our monitoring possibilities, we cannot monitor and determine everything. First inspections in the last 70 minutes have now revealed that last Monday during the nighttime, one of our large surveillance discs in the area of southern Europe registered a foreign flying ship, but did not transmit this to the station, because it had not stored this data due to a disturbance field, which registered itself as of natural origin in our surveillance devices, and thus also had not transmitted it to our station. Checking this disk now revealed that its equipment had not been shut down for seconds by a natural Earth interference field in any wise, but that an artificial interference field from some flying ship had caused this brief damage, controlled by some intelligence. What remained unobserved during the disturbance of our surveillance equipment was an image recorder that automatically recorded the foreign flying machine in the moving image, after which we now know that this cylindrical ship, about 12 meters in diameter, is somewhere on the Earth, where, unfortunately, we do not yet know. Apparently, it is equipped with some kind of protective shield, which made our analyzers ineffective, and we could not determine the location. We will, however, have all our monitoring devices analyzed around the clock and at night, and will not rest until we have an accurate reconnaissance. We will pay special attention to you, because it seems to us to be correct with your assumption that the being observed by you appears again.
Fine, then I will not be so stupid anymore and pull up the cannon again. I will also release my blockade of thoughts.
Do not speak like that. It was in no way stupid of you, as you express it, but it was a clear and justified precaution. If you have explained to me that you were in no way frightened when you saw the being and that you wanted to prepare yourself with the weapon only for each case and did not have the intention to simply shoot without your life being threatened, then I know very well that this is also the case and that you speak the full truth. Your manner of thinking and acting in relation to the endangerment, injury, or killing of a life, of any form of life, is so well known to me that your words, that you only wanted to be careful and not shoot wildly at it, and did not feel any fear, but only a certain fascination, that these very explanations of yours are synonymous with me as the relevant law of the creation.
You have a pretty damn great opinion of me, girl. That really puts me to shame.
Sure, but only your modesty makes you ashamed. But you are really very far ahead of me in many things, not to mention your great advantage over the Earth humans.
Oh, stop this nonsense.
You yourself know very well that in many consciousness-based matters, you surpass all human beings on the Earth by far, and that you are also something special in the face of your modesty, when I think only once of your knowledge of the creational and the spiritual teaching, as well as of your powers of consciousness, which you are able to apply.
You are really telling the most damn crappin' nonsense a person has ever let go of. Stop the nonsense already.
Sure, because there will be no point in trying to give you some clarification. Nevertheless, you cannot prevent that many human beings, and in particular some of your group members, have already become knowing enough that despite your modesty, you have many more values in you and around you than all hum.
Damn it. If you do not stop with this damn nonsense and this 3 times damned praise, then human child, then you are really putting me in roaring anger.
Oh, excuse me, I did not want that. You are getting really angry. I am very sorry, I really did not want that, and I only spoke the truth.
Maybe, but even so it is darn unwelcome because I cannot stand this triply damned fulsome praise. Moreover, as a decent human being one does not say es tut mir leid I do my sorry, but es ist mir leid I am sorry. Even if some idiots in German linguistics do not want to understand, it is nevertheless so that it reads as es ist mir leid. Firstly, you cannot do sorry to oneself, and secondly, one can only be sorry but not do, and thirdly, this speech does not come from tooting and blowing, or from anything having tooted.
You have a way of pushing away a flaring anger that has a lot to do with what you call gallows humor.
Maybe.
You are right.
With what?
It is quite logical what you said, namely, I am sorry.
So why do you think that?
It is logical that the suffering in me is a state caused by a mistake made, in my case earlier by emotional impulses. It is clear from this that suffering is within me and is not done to me by myself.
How logically you can think. It is directly fabulous.
Mockery only, I deserve it. But a suffering always arises in me, and it can never be put into me. So I can only be in sorrow, which means that the sorrow is in me, so I cannot do sorry, because as I said, I create this sorrow in myself.
Your talent for combining is simply fantastic today. It honors me to be able to talk with you. Excuse me, it is stupid of me. I see for myself that it goes far beyond mockery.
I do not feel so, but nevertheless I have gone too far myself. I just wanted to see how much your modesty is anchored in you. It is so deep that it consists only of conviction. I have recognized that. I am very sorry that I had to get it out of you in this manner in order to be aware of it.
And, do you really know it now?
Yes, and it is so profound that I was scared. So please excuse me.
Once, at the very beginning of our acquaintance, we said to ourselves that we would never apologize in the form that it would act as forgiveness. But now, my child, you and I have done exactly the opposite. It is crazy, it is just crazy, and I cannot even explain it to myself. I have to think about it for a while.
It is the same for me. The best will probably be if I go now and we are alone with our thoughts.
I also think that is the right way to go.
Then I just want to explain the following to you. If the being you observe, which is undoubtedly a human form of life, reappears to you, then behave as you have declared yourself to behave. Make contact with him, because everything in his mind points to peaceful intentions, sometimes even to misery. For my part, I will loosen my blockade to such an extent that you can penetrate to me at any time. If you call me and need me, I will be with you within a few minutes.
Thanks, girl. But I do not suppose I need your help. Because somehow I have the feeling that everything is going to go fundamentally wrong.
You are again the old wise one, friend. Thank you very much for that.
I also thank you, dear girl. And furthermore, we are both blameless, no?
To a certain extent, yes, because we just had to explore these things to each other.
You are quite clever, my child, because you have noticed it.
Sure, but both of us do not cry about it. but now I would like to ask you for something if you allow me.
Surely, only always.
First, I still have a few things to discuss with you that are only meant for you, and second, Quetzal wants to do a test in which you would play a major role.
Both are approved, my golden child.
You do not even know what this test is about?
It does not matter. A test with you has to be connected with something new, and I have never been a stay-at-home and an old-fashioned night mourner before.
Sure, I know that. Well, it is actually something new, a new transmission apparatus that Quetzal constructed. He wants today's report to be transmitted with this new apparatus, which can be switched to different speeds. Our 2-hour conversation, if everything is correct, would be transmitted within only about 30 minutes, whereby you would write as fast and implement all picture forms in as short a time as only a computer device can work. This new apparatus would surpass the old one by far.
Of course I agree.
Then I should thank you in the name of Quetzal and his collaborating friends.
It goes without saying that I will participate.
I would rather not answer any question now.
You should not either. Better get up into your ship now.
I wanted to discuss some things with you.
Oh, yes. You see, I have again already forgotten about that. What is on your heart?
These are matters that should not be reported. However, I would like to send greetings to all the honest members of the group, as well as to the guilty ones, and to thank them very much. Many think of me very often, and often it saddens me that I cannot get into deeper contact with them,